We are coming to you from Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City, where tonight WGN Sports presents White Sox baseball. It's Avisail Garcia. It's Jose Abreu. Alexei Ramirez and the Sox as they get set to butt heads defending American League champion Kansas City Royals. Hi, everybody, and welcome. With Steve Stone, I'm Ken Harrell. Since we get set to bring you game 2 of this 3-game series, in the opener on Monday, things did not go that well. There were some base on balls, and there was a little bleeder hit up the middle. We couldn't get to it. A little miscommunication there, and that led to 5 runs. But the weather looks like it's going to be good. About a half an hour ago, there was a tarp on the field, but we have been told now that we're clean and green up to about 11 o'clock. And that's good news. You never want to play doubleheaders, but still, coming into this ballpark, Stoney, over the years, we have not had a lot of fun.
This ball club has been very tough on our Sox, and the reason is a whole lot of speed. When you look at the numbers, you'll realize that Sox are going to have to turn it around against a team last year they went 6-13 against. But look at the record since 2011, 28-47. The batting average, not great at 242. The earned run average, not particularly good when you consider the Royals haven't had that good of a hitting team. And here at Kauffman Stadium, 16-21, including losing 12 of the last 15 that these two teams have gone head-to-head. So if the Sox want to turn it around, they've got to start here tonight.
Well, we got a tough job ahead of us because Danny Duffy is out there on the bump for them. And left-handed hitters, of course, there's a change in our lineup tonight. Only hitting last year, 137 against him.
Danny Duffy last year, if he had 2 more starts, 12 1/3 more innings, he would have qualified for 5th in the ERA title in the American League. He's a very tough left-hander who's never pitched a full season. Last year threw 149 innings in the major leagues. They worry about that down the road. They don't worry about that right now. He's got a big curveball. He throws hard. He is one of the guys from their system that they look to be a bona fide number 2. Hopefully he'll have some troubles tonight because I don't think he's going to have troubles this year.
All right, sit back, relax, and strap it down. White Sox baseball coming your way.
Here, the Kansas City Royals led baseball in stolen bases, and Monday afternoon was no exception as the Royals stole a pair, and that's something that the Sox are going to have to contend with tonight. This is a very fast ball club, up and down the order. That's Lorenzo Cain as he steals second base easily. Alex Rios then takes off, throw going into center field. Their number one base stealer, Escobar, didn't have a chance to run, but he's always on the lookout. So Jose Quintana tonight is going to have his hands full, and he's going to have to pay attention to the leads and pay attention to their base stealers. If he can do that, they got a very good chance of evening the series at 1-1. And the defending American League champion Kansas City Royals take the field behind left-hander Danny Duffy, who lifetime is 2-1 with a 3.24 ERA against our Sox. Jose Quintana hasn't had much luck with these Royals. He's 0-6 lifetime, but let's take a look at how Robin is going to line up our Sox for the game tonight. Adam Eaton leading it off. Melky Cabrera in the 2 spot. Jose Abreu hitting third. Then it's Avisail Garcia, Alexei Ramirez, Adam LaRoche, Gordon Beckham, Tyler Flowers, and Carlos Sanchez getting his first start and playing second base. The defense and how they'll line up behind Danny Duffy. It's Alex Gordon, the Gold Glover, in left, Lorenzo Cain in center, and Alex Rios in right. Mike Moustakas, who had his first opposite field home run of his career in the opener of this series. He's at third. Alcides Escobar, Omar Infante, Eric Hosmer round out the infield with very talented young catcher Salvador Perez behind the plate, and Danny Duffy on the hill. Forget about that 9-12 record. Look at the 2.53 ERA in 25 starts. Opponents hitting just a paltry 2.09. This guy's got a terrific curveball. He's been working on a slider / cutter. If he can get that to go along with his good fastball, he should be in good shape, although he's never pitched a full major league season. And with James Shields going on to San Diego, the Royals are hoping he does just that. The umpires for the game this evening: Hunter Wendelstedt behind the plate, Bob Davidson at first, David Rackley is at second, and the crew chief, Jerry Lane, is at third. So they've thrown the ball around the infield, which means we are ready to play baseball. I'm ready to turn it over to my play-by-play partner, Ken Harrelson.
All right, Steve, thank you very much. And once again, good evening, everyone, and welcome to White Sox Baseball, right here on WGN Sports. Game 2 of the series and Game 2 of the season. Two good ball clubs right here going at one another. And before we show you our picks to click, you at home select yours. First pitch of the ball game from the southpaw is taken for a strike. As we talked about in the opening, this guy is tough on left-handed hitters. Double tough. Last year they hit 137 against him. Oh, just foul. And here at beautiful Kauffman Stadium, 330 down the lines. 387 in the gaps and 410 straightaway center.
Normally you would expect a lot of breaking balls in the dirt, and you have to have a man behind the plate that blocks everything, and Salvador Perez usually does.
Reaches out, a little two-hopper. Hosmer's got him. 74 degrees at game time. So Adams retired. He was 1 for 4 last night, and here's Cabrera, who was 1 for 4 as well last evening. First pitch strike. Duffy, 26 years old, 6'3", 205, out of Lompoc, California.
Melky Cabrera played for these Royals back in 2011. He hit 305. It was a good year for him. 18 home runs, 87 driven in. Then he moved on to San Francisco, where he hit 346 in 2012.
That's foul back. Well, we haven't seen that much of Duffy, but the times we have seen him, boy, he just gets it and comes right at you.
He's thrown 97 this early evening, and to go with a very good curveball, an improved cutter and slider, he's awfully tough.
He did not go.
There's
well,
a
hitters
breaking ball.
This is one thing that I just don't like about the DH. Never have. I liked the DH when it first came out, but over the years, as time has gone on, I'm against it. But nothing's going to change because the players are not going to give it up. If pitchers only knew sometimes what hitters hate, they would do more of it. And by that I mean is got maybe the two best shortstops in the American League in this game tonight, ours and theirs. But hitters hate pitchers who come right at them. They don't like it. They like guys try to feel you out a little bit. Ball one here, 1-1 here, 2-1.
Duffy's not that kind of pitcher.
No, not at all.
Either is Yordano Ventura, who pitched in the opener on Monday.
So here's Abreu. Had one home run in the spring, and last night cranked out his first. A bomb out of here to left center.
That was a good straight change by Duffy, something that our hitters haven't seen a great deal of from him.
That was Monday, off day yesterday. If he comes up with that pitch, then there's a two-hopper. So a nice, easy 3 ground ball inning for Duffy. And after half inning of play, it's our guys nothing and their guys coming to bat.
Moustakas and Kane at the top with Hosmer, Morales, and Gordon in the middle. Alex Rios, who had a big opening game, along with Salvador Perez and Omar Infante, rounded out the defense. And out of the lineup behind Jose Quintana, Cabrera, Eaton, and Garcia in the outfield, with Beckham, Ramirez, Sanchez, and Abreu in the infield. Tyler Flowers behind the plate, and Jose Quintana on the hill. Threw the ball very well last year in his 32 starts, but didn't have a whole lot to show for it, as he didn't get much offensive support. Very similar to Danny Duffy, who got the least offensive support of any pitcher in the American League with 25 starts or more.
Here's Escobar, 2 for 4 last night. Just a terrific player. Takes first pitch strike.
Escobar was on 3 times in the opener on Monday and scored all 3 times. He is the key to beating this team. Keep him off base.
And from the middle out, some of the best plate coverage in the American League. So that means some of the best plate coverage in all of baseball. Two and 1 to count.
Normally Escobar will make contact. Had a down year in 2013 at 234. Last year bounced back at 285. Played all 162 games, so he is durability personified.
Get foul. It will.
George Brett in 1983 scored 3 runs in the Royals season opener, and Escobar is the first Royal since to do the same thing.
Outfield well around to the right, and Avi is short, just where he should be. Gets out and around that one. Going to be a good year for baseball in Chicago, and it's going to be a battle. I mean, wire to wire, so to speak, a wire to wire battle in the American League Central. There's 4 teams in this division that can win this thing.
And one of the teams has taken some injuries early, and that's the Detroit Tigers. They put Joe Nathan on the disabled list to go with Verlander. Rondon, who was going to be a 100-mile-an-hour setup man, is already on the disabled list for them. They've had a lot of problems.
Lifts that one in foul ground, and that's not. He got to play. Beautiful play by Abreu. Mercy.
You got a shot at retiring Eduardo Escobar. It's a nice job to go get it. He leans in, takes it away from a spectator. Good concentration. Nice play by the big man.
It certainly was. And there's Moustakas, 2 for 3 with an opposite field homer last evening. Takes a breaking ball strike. Yeah, you can't use that swipe as a first baseman or a right fielder if you're running that hard getting to the line. Usually if you do have a little time, then you go ahead and just clear it out with that, either the right arm, or sometimes if you are confident with the glove hand. That would not have been fan interference.
No, not reaching that far in the seats. No. New spot in the batting order for Mike Moustakas. That's what he did against our Sox last year. He was pretty good. It was not a good year overall for them. And going opposite field and hitting a home run in the opener on Monday was something he'd never done before.
Well, we thought last year he was going to be a big key for the club. As it turned out, it was not. It was just defense, which he's got plenty of that. and their bullpen.
He also had 5 postseason home runs for them, so late he was a factor.
Yes, he was.
That's what he spent most of spring doing. That last swing, which was a swing intended to go the other way. This is a guy, if you look at the spray charts over the last few years from Moustakas, everything is from right center field over. As you can tell by the defensive charts the Sox have, they're playing him as a dead pull hitter with Sanchez way back on the outfield grass. So the shift is on. Moustakas look like he will go the opposite field this year.
That ball hit hard in the center field. Adam can't get it.
Moustakas hits this to the left side of center field and hits it hard. Adam thinking he had a shot. Turns out he didn't. And Moustakas is aboard, continuing his red hot start.
Here's their center fielder, Lorenzo Cain, who was 1 for 4 on Monday.
Cain has played in 1 game and 1 inning. He's already been hit twice. That one got him just off the point of the left knee. And for the Royals, fortunately, he's fine as he trots down to first base.
That'll bring up Eric Hosmer, 1 for 5 in Monday's game. There's numbers last year. There's off the field. He just ate him up. 2 down.
Well, Hosmer came in hitting just 188 against Jose and doesn't get a real good pitch to handle. He breaks his bat, just barely easing it to shortstop. And a big pitch in a big situation.
That'll bring up the very dangerous switch hitting DH, Kendrys Morales. Kendrys 1 for 2 Monday.
You believe Kansas City is going to be a better offense with Morales and Rios as opposed to Aoki and Butler?
Well, Aoki wore us out. He hit almost 500 against us.
Well,
Butler's always hit us well, but overall, yes, I do. I love. Guess that one by him. I love Billy Butler because Billy, when he is right, okay, he's one of the better 7th, 8th, and 9th inning hitters in this league. And of course, that when I say 7th, 8th, and 9th, that means he's going to be seeing good stuff in those 3 innings. So anybody who's a good 7th, 8th, and 9th inning hitter, those are the guys you want. 1-2 the count.
Jose has tried to throw it by Morales upstairs, and he's got a lot of choices right here at 1-2.
Here's one of the big differences in the game, as you and I were discussing prior to this game tonight. In the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings, it's tougher to hit today than it's ever been.
You're not facing a tiring starter.
We used to love to hit in the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings. Of course, they had some, relievers. They were specialists like, the monster Dick Raditz, who was 6'8", 315 pounds. Boston threw about 102, 103 with good movement. Then, of course, you had Goose Gossage and those guys who would get 2, 3 inning saves. the Terry Fosters, who was the starter, and then went to the bullpen a little bit. He had that exploding fastball. But overall, you wanted to get to their bullpen. Everything about the game of baseball today is tougher than it's ever been. Except for the owners.
If Jose decides to throw a face-high fastball, he can get out of this inning. Because Morales likes the ball upstairs, but higher than high is a good spot for it.
And there's the base hit. And they're going to get on the board.
Third run batted in for Morales. That was a fastball. It was in. It just wasn't high enough. Ball probably touched the strike zone. Just a little below the letters. You wanted it face high. He didn't get it there. And Morales, giving him a switch hitter in the middle of this lineup every day, has started off hot.
Well, that's the reason. Being that switch hitter is the difference. And make no mistake about it, that young man right there, Kendrys Morales, if he's healthy, he is a good hitter. So here's Alex Gordon. Alex 1 for 2 last night with 2 of the softest RBIs he's had in his major league career. You could have caught that little ground ball bleeder hit up the middle with a pair of tweezers.
That looked like could have been handled by either Ramirez or Johnson. Instead handled by neither.
Not a bad crowd at all on hand, especially if you're considering the weather and the radar an hour prior to the game.
There was a lot of warnings for tornadoes in the area. I'm sure that kept the crowd down, but it's turned into a beautiful night.
Get over there. He will. But they scratch out a run, and after one, it is 1-0 Royals. It'll be Garcia, Ramirez, and Adam LaRoche to face Danny Duffy.
Duffy put on 15 pounds of muscle in the offseason, knowing that he hasn't been all that durable over the course of his career. He's planning on 200 innings this year. That would be a stretch from the 149 he threw for the Royals last year.
Good rip by Ivy. Right now, let's check out our picks to click this evening. Jim Angio, our director and crew, they went with Tyler. Steve's going with Alexei. And my good friend Jeff Shearer and all the great folks at Ditka's and I, we're going to go with Gordon Beckham. One and one to count. That is high and souvenir time. And just checking around. One final this afternoon. Cubs shut out St. Louis 2-0.
I watched Jake Arrieta today, and he was absolutely brilliant.
He's
in that
back.
game.
Well, you know, you got to look at Chris Bosio too, because Arrieta's been struggling. We got two of the better pitching coaches in all of baseball, of course, with our Coop and Bosio, because that's a reclamation project almost. And now, last year, he was just about as good as anybody, and starting off this year,
his stuff was brilliant. He moved it around particularly well, and they were able to even the series, just reversing the shutout of the first game.
That's into right field and foul.
Detroit beating Minnesota 11-0. So despite having 4 pitchers on the disabled list, they found a way to bang out 15 hits and make things difficult on the Twins.
Well, the Cubs found out a way to bang out 2 hits
and make things difficult on St. Louis. Just make sure that they can't hit your pitching.
Say that Lance Lynn, when we saw him a couple of years ago, he was lights out. And again today too.
Pretty good today.
Yeah. Upstairs.
That's kind of fastball that Quintana was probably looking for, although he's not going to get it up there 95, 96. But up and out of the strike zone, when you've got 2 strikes, is a devastating pitch. It looks inviting, you just can't catch up to it.
That's where that velocity really comes in. That's the big equalizer, because as we've talked about for years now, it's a lot easier for hitters to cover in and out than it is up and down. You don't mind guys who have good stuff that are in and out, but when you get guys that have good stuff who are up and down as well, now you got a huge strike zone. Pull a string, had him way out in front, 0-2.
Good straight change, which is a work in progress. However, tonight he's thrown already a few very good ones, having Alexei well out front. So it wasn't location, it was right down the middle. It was just velocity, a disparity of 12 miles an hour that fooled Ramirez.
And motion. One ball, 2 strikes.
Hard to believe that Duffy, when he entered high school, was 5'4", especially when you look at a 6'3" left-hander. He had a whole lot of growing left, and right now he's great size for a left-handed starter.
Two down.
Opening day at U.S. Cellular Field will again welcome a sellout crowd. Fans, you can join us at the ballpark on Friday, April 12th. But remember, arrive early and don't miss a minute of the action. Parking lots open at 11 a.m. for tailgating. Gates to the ballpark open at 1:10, and be sure to be in your seats by 2:25 for the start of an exciting opening game ceremony.
Watch out. He knew something was going to happen.
And he gets a warning as that one goes behind him. And Hunter Wendelstedt goes out, warns both benches. And he actually missed LaRoche.
But usually when you're throwing right here, you're trying to hit somebody.
Yeah, that's not good. That wasn't a knockdown pitch. That was behind his head.
Yeah.
Something you certainly don't want to see. Let's see if Adam can make him pay.
Only one to count.
You were right on top of the plate when you hit most of the time. Do you ever have the ball going back in?
Not very often.
No, there's certainly intention there because Major League pitcher does not throw the ball behind anybody.
No, when they throw it right where he threw it, he was trying to hit him. Well, and again, on the other side of the page, you can't blame him. So, I mean, that's baseball. But the only thing I know is our guys hit their guys, below that area. That ball hit hard into right field. Meanwhile, Rios can't get it. So that pitch didn't seem to bother Adam at all, as there is a bullet double.
Time now for our Mazda replay, and there's nothing that makes a hitter happier after getting knocked down than delivering a double. Rios thought he had a shot, but that ball just exploded off a very powerful man's bat. Adam's going to hit a lot of home runs this year. The last two ballparks that he called home, Atlanta and Washington, were difficult places to hit home runs. Not so at U.S. Cellular Field. This guy will hit his share and maybe a little bit more than he has recently.
So here's Gordon. Little tardy on that one.
This is a good defensive outfield. However, they don't throw as well as their outfield of a few years back. They can go get it. If it stays in the field of play, they're going to get most of them. But you're also going to test the arms on these guys. Gordon has an above average left field arm because he's a former third baseman.
And Alex throws strikes from out there, Gordon. Yeah, that outfield with Gordon, Kane, and Francoeur was one of the best you'll ever see. And besides that, all three of them had 40 or more doubles that year.
They could go get them. Softly hit. And he can't make the play, so that'll be a base hit for Beckham with Adam in the third. With two strikes, Moustakas was deep at third base, and he realized the only chance he had was bare hand throwing the same motion. He tried, but could not make the play. Puts runners at the corners where a breaking ball in the dirt produces a run if it can get by Perez, who's one of the tougher catchers around to throw the ball by. Boy, he's a fun guy to watch. Salvador Perez. All right, Tyler, go to work right here, buddy.
Kicks down low.
I think he was doing Tyler a favor by a first pitch straight change.
No doubt about it.
And fortunately for him, he kept the ball down and out of the zone.
You and I both hate that pitch.
Yep.
But and the old reasoning being, what are you changing off of? High into left field. Stretch, stretch, stretch. Gill back there. He looks up. You can put it on the board. Yes. Yes. A 3-run homer, and it's a 3-1 Sox lead.
With 2 out and nobody on. The wake-up call maybe came to the offense when that pitch went behind LaRoche. This is another straight change. Somewhat remarkably, the first 2 pitches were 86 to Tyler. That one left the ballpark. And it's a 2-run lead.
Carlos Sanchez. Carlos had a terrific spring. Well, we have 2 young, talented guys out there at second base.
Carlos is a very good player and a switch hitter to go with it. He certainly deserved to make the ball club with the spring he had, and
he did.
And Micah battled him head up all the way through spring for the job. It really helped that what wind there is was blowing toward the left field corner, because it took that ball out of the ballpark.
And it's brisk out to left.
Yes, it is. Tyler Flowers got an off-speed pitch, got it into the jet stream, hit it a mile high, and fortunately far enough into that bullpen.
Got him, but not before. A unique sequence to Tyler Flowers. A 3-run homer, and we lead it 3-1.
That's the story here.
And I love what Hunter Wendelstedt did. He walked out to Jose and reminded him that warnings have been given to both benches. Sometimes a starting pitcher might not be paying attention. He might be in the locker room between innings, so he went out just to let him know that you get too close or hit somebody and you're going to get thrown out of the ball game.
Well, as I said, I don't blame Duffy. 3 of their guys have been hit. But the thing is about the warning, all of a sudden now it shrinks that plate for the hitter.
A lot of pitchers who don't have command don't want to go inside after a warning is issued.
Just makes it much more hittable. He gone. So Rios, who was 3 for 4 with a 3-run homer last night, 1 out.
That was a good straight change. He was ahead of Rios, threw that ball off the plate. Alex swung at the motion because the baseball was a good 6 inches outside.
And of course that was Monday night. Very seldom you ever have an off day after the first game of a 3-game series, except on opening day.
As long as it's not contested on the weekend. We will have an opening day at home and play 3 straight games.
That's softly into right field.
Sox fans, opening day is April 10th at 3:10 versus the Twins. All fans ages 21 or over will receive a 2015 White Sox magnetic schedule presented by Miller Lite, the official light pilsner and official beer of your Chicago White Sox.
Well, last night in this game is a euphemism for Monday afternoon.
That's it. It seems like it.
Yeah. Here's Infante. He was 0 for 4 Monday afternoon. There is a strike. 3-3-0 for us, 1-2-0 for them if you're just tuning in.
Infante was the only Royal not to record a base hit in the opener.
Well, he certainly last year was a big asset to this ball club, especially early in the season. He almost carried this club for a while.
They were having some problems at second base. And along with Escobar, it became a very good double play combination. And also he got some timely hits. Royals are, however, a little worried about his durability in injury situations.
Gap out there in left center, big gap. And that's lined into right, caught. He was playing him perfectly. Nice play and nice positioning by Avi Garcia. And we'll go to the third.
see it positioned in a perfect place to get this sinking line drive. Then he comes in, takes it off the grass, and robs Omar Infante. What a play. What positioning. The Speed Replay is brought to you by Xfinity, your home for the most live sports.
Here's Adam Eaton. Grounded out. The Hosmer takes first pitch strike.
I don't think it's a particularly bad idea to bunt on Duffy if you drag it. He falls off like most left-handers to the third base side, and although Moustakas is in close, Hosmer is back at first. The entire right side is open if he wants to lay one down.
Outfield short, swung around to the left. Nice gap out there in right center if he can find it. Yeah, if he wants the little drag here, he can take it right to Infante.
Had the idea and took one down and away. So the umpires in the stands weren't particularly happy with this call by Hunter Wendelstedt. But the ball that could have gone either way goes Adams' way.
Going back a few years, there was a little left-handed hitter in this league who was just terrific. There's a nice little Hawthorne Woods bounce. One out, but it was a terrific bunter. I mean, especially when he had a tough left-hander out there, because he was a left-handed hitter, and he was just about as good as anybody, and it was Brett Butler.
Butler was wonderful. He's from Libertyville, just outside of Chicago, and he was a great bunter. And he told me about his philosophy: stay around and make sure you get the ball in play, then run.
Yeah, well, that's into right field. Cabrera, 2 out. That's one of the big mistakes that is made now with guys who want to bunt. This is like some of our guys, and not just our guys, some guys who have good speed. They just don't have the technique on how to bunt or how to steal a base. It's the technique. But what Butler said is certainly true. It's no good if you're out there and you foul it off.
No, and he told me he doesn't mind the third baseman on the grass. He said, if I laid down my perfect bunt, I'm going to beat that throw to first base regardless of where the third baseman is.
Abreu grounded out to short. In situations like that, you can't be afraid to make an out. If you want to be that precise, don't try it. Good rip at that one underneath it, and very quickly to count 0-2.
96-mile-an-hour fastball on the outside corner, just above knee high. Pretty good pitch. Jose couldn't square it up, and he's in a hole.
There's that ass upstairs. And a 1-2-3 inning.
Vukovich, your local Nationwide insurance agent serving the area for 37 years. To join the nation, visit jeffvuk.com because Nationwide is on your side. Jose getting 3 runs early for him seems almost miraculous. A couple of years ago when he had 17 no decisions, I'm not sure he'd get 3 runs in the entire ball game, let alone at the top of the second inning.
It's the top of the order here in the bottom of the third for the Royals. Alcides Escobar takes the curveball strike. Escobar hit a high foul ball over by the Camberwell first base side, and a beautiful catch by Abreu. One out.
Join us at U.S. Cellular Field for an exciting 2015 White Sox baseball season. The Pick 14 plan offers fans a flexible 14-game plan that features savings off 2015 individual game ticket prices. Pick 14 plans start as low as $110. For tickets or more information, visit whitesox.com or call 312-674-1000.
Moustakas hit a bullet over the head of Adam Eaton in center field for a double, and came around to score in the first inning. Quickly, 0-2.
The man they call Moose around here was a former #1 draft pick of these Royals, as was Hosmer, as was Alex Gordon. Their system has been pretty productive under Dayton Moore, who's done just an outstanding job as a GM of these Royals.
Yes, he has. But on the other side of the page as well, when you're playing as poorly as they have for a long time, they just didn't have much when he got here. Now, this is a very strong club, and it should be that way for quite a few years. Look at Dayton.
Yeah, he's done just a terrific job. I remember talking to him in 2010. He told me we'd be competitive in 2014. Now, he thought they'd be competitive. As it turned out, they were 1 game away from World Series champions, so they were more than competitive. But they won 87. They played very well, and Dayton has put it all together.
Well, I thought they should have won it in 13 as well.
They've been good for a while.
Yeah. So he is hit by a pitch.
And a wise choice by Hunter Wendelstedt, because there's no way that Quintana was going to hit him in that situation, or an intention of hitting him.
Well, Hunter knows the game.
Well, also, you see where Tyler is set up inside. If Tyler was set up outside, well, you might have a case for it. But set up inside, wanting the fastball in on his hands, he got him.
Here's Lorenzo Cain. He was hit by a pitch in the first. Now, if you're Cain, you just look for the ball out there where you got it. That rule has its pluses and certainly has its minuses.
Well, we'll tell you about the warning rule and exactly how it's interpreted, because there's a lot of you probably figuring after a warning, first guy that gets hit, the pitcher and the manager get the boot. But it's up to the interpretation of the umpire, even after a warning is given, if he feels it was intentional. In this case, with Tyler set up inside, most likely figuring that Jose wanted to go in there, he did not ring him up, which was a good no call.
Well, it's a veteran call. Yeah, you get a rookie umpire behind the plate, he probably would have thrown Quintana out.
I believe that.
And that's what happens. He's got all 3 of those pitches were out over the plate. So that's why pluses and minuses. So 2 on, 1 out.
Lorenzo Cain, who came out of the Milwaukee organization, is turning into just a great player and seemingly better each and every time we see him. So Tyler Flowers out to the mound. I want to talk about what they're going to do with Hosmer.
Well, I mentioned 2 years ago he had a series against us at our place that was just phenomenal in center field. Just phenomenal. He's one of the few guys that after that series was over, I went into the clubhouse expressly just to shake his hand and tell him that was absolutely terrific.
Well, in quantifying the range of a center fielder, there are a number of statistics that you quantify. He was third in the major leagues at covering ground in center field.
Here's Hosmer. Takes first pitch strike. He popped up to Alexei. And now from a hitting standpoint, you just sit up there and wait till you get something out over the plate.
For whatever reason, Lorenzo Cain is not taking much of a lead at first. I'm not sure if he thinks that there's going to be a play coming behind him between Flowers and Abreu, but on a ground ball, you got to get a bigger lead than he's getting at first base to break up two.
That ball hit deep into right center field and out of here. A 3-run homer, and it's a 4-3 game. And that's what happens. Just wait till you get something out over the plate and then go to work.
Four runs driven in by Hosmer. A line drive home run over the right center field wall. Jose gave up 10 all of last year. So it's very rare that somebody takes him out of the yard. But that fastball was right down and over the middle of the plate and gone.
Breaking ball strike to Morales, who had an RBI single in the first. Love it when the warnings are given.
Especially after you just hit somebody this inning, you pretty much know that everything's going to be away after that.
Sure you do.
From the middle out.
Thought that when the warnings are given like that for a pitcher, you're better off at least for a couple of innings going to your secondary and third pitch a little bit more, because they're going to be sitting for that fastball right out over the plate. Cain got it and Hosmer got it. First pitch to Hosmer was a curveball, so he wasn't going to swing at that.
And then he got one very much to his liking. A man who hit only 9 home runs all of last year. On the board early in this season.
Three and 2 the count. Of course, the same thing applies to our guys. They can look for the ball out over the plate.
Adams' double started things off. Led to the 3-run homer by Tyler Flowers, matched by Hosmer.
Two down. First pitch strike to Gordon, grounded out 3-1. Count evens at 1.
There's looking at a man in his 5th year in that Royals uniform.
And really the best offensive year he had was his first year.
Looks like he's probably going to match those numbers and maybe exceed them in the power department, because the power's always been there. Just hasn't been able to turn it on all that often.
Well, we touched that on the opener on Monday. Everything is contagious, especially team-wise. And when you get a team that they hit 95 home runs last year, fewest in the big leagues, and you get in that mode, that mindset, everybody seems to fall into it. Meanwhile, when you get a team that's going to hit over 200 home runs, everybody gets in that mode. You're going to hit some home runs. Four 4-0 for their guys. 3-3-0 for our guys. That was just a get me over breaking ball. Hit high and foul. Thank you. Just foul.
Not much room in the corner. And that one hits off the fan's hand and then the wall. No chance at all for Avi that time. A lot of work and a lot of pitches, not through 3 overall.
Payoff pitch. And slice foul. It will. Well, we've talked about it in the past. We talked about it this spring. Quintana has a little bit of a different rhythm in the stretch than he does from the windup. And as a matter of fact, from the windup, hitters are hitting 239 against him. And from the stretch, they're hitting 285.
That's surprising, in that he really slows things down. It's almost impossible to develop a rhythm when you're working very slowly. And when he's sailing right along, he works very quickly.
Those numbers from last year.
Don Cooper coming out. It's been a rough inning, and that's the first walk to go with 2-hit batsmen.
And I'm sure one of the things that Coop is just going to give him a little breather right here just to settle down. Coop has told him. The last game we had him down in spring training when he got hit hard in that 1 inning from the stretch. That was, I asked Coop after the game, so what'd you tell him? Did you tell him to speed it up? He said, yeah.
You can tell them.
That's right, but they got to do it.
And they have to speed it up. So Coop has had his say, and now Alex Rios, former member of the White Sox, Toronto, Texas. Now the Kansas City Royals.
Get that long home run out of here Monday for a 3-run blast. Good lead by Gordon. Rios struck out on a good changeup his first trip. Long peg, and that'll do it. But a 3-run homer, a low fastball right down the middle, and it's 4-3. Kansas City. Run homers, one by us. That was Tyler Flowers. Change up in last inning. A 3-run homer by Hosmer on a low fastball right in his wheelhouse. Garcia, Ramirez, LaRoche. That ball hit into left center field. He's not going to be able to get that one. So the leadoff double by Avi. Now let's execute, guys. Let's execute.
This is a fastball. It's right down the middle. Probably favoring the inner portion. Very hittable. Avi crushes it.
Well, we just said it. The same thing goes true for our hitters, too.
The ball
out over the plate because of warnings. There's Alexei.
Line drive in the gap that Kane had no chance of corralling.
In situations like that, your thought process goes from the plate forward, not from behind the plate back.
Pretty good idea by Alexei as he tried to inside out that one to the right side. At the very worst, getting Garcia onto third base. Good situational hitting as he takes a look down at Joe McEwen. Outfield shading him toward right center, step or two.
Another good effort. But you know, you and I have talked about this, and you know how I feel. I'm not impressed that much by many hitting coaches at all. I'm really impressed with ours. Trick with Todd Steverson. That's what he's trying to get our guys to do, is think better at the plate. Think more of an approach, not mechanics. Watch out.
Try to slow that slider in on the hands of Ramirez. There's Todd Steverson, the nickname Trick. And I know he has a respect of all of his hitters, and they seem to have thrived under him.
Well, he's not inundating them with mechanics. Another good effort by Alexei. Whether or not he pops up, strikes out, or whatever, his teammates know this is going to good at bat for their shortstop.
He's tried to hit the ball to the right side, tried a couple of times. The only one that he had no choice but to pull was that slider that stayed inside.
Worst thing as far as the team concept goes is when a guy comes up in this situation against a tough pitcher out there. Being a right-handed hitter with a man on second, nobody out, and hit the first pitch down to the third baseman.
Had him well out in front once again. But Alexei is having a battling at bat. Fouled off some pretty good pitches.
That's why, Todd, that's why I really appreciate what Stevens is doing. Our guys are having much better at bats.
Well, if you can run this starter out of there after 5 with a pitch count or a run count, that bullpen is a lot less formidable. Ned Yost has only 9 outs to cover, and he can count on Escobar, Davis, and Holland in pretty good shape. They get Luke Kochaver back, who 2 years ago before the injury did exactly what Wade Davis did last year, a starting pitcher who excelled out of the bullpen. Oh. Alexei, you saw 7 pitches in the opener. You're going to see at least 9 here.
Well, here he's got a job to do.
As you can see, Duffy is staying around the zone. Alexei is trying to guide that ball to the right side, but he's been forced to pull a couple well foul.
Well, that chart right there will tell you about the stuff of Danny Duffy a little bit.
That's a beautiful stop by Perez.
Yeah, in a 10-1 ball game, you're batting this situation right here. It's not quite as
no, not quite as intense. You're not grinding quite as hard.
Big gap out there in left center. He can throw on that changeup and he can hit. Pops him up right side. 1 out. And Alexei, that was a good at bat, buddy.
Provide your guests with the ultimate all-inclusive White Sox experience in the Home Plate Club or Magellan Scout Seats. These 2 premium seating areas are the best way to entertain your most important clients, employees, or your friends or family. For more information, call 312-671-1000 or visit whitesox.com/premium seating.
And Robin giving Alexei a big pat on the fanny there because of that at bat.
Did everything he could do except put the ball in play on the ground.
Exactly. You can't always execute. It's major league pitching. And here's LaRoche. He started off that 3-run second, 2 out, nobody on. And Duffy started him off with a pitch that Adam didn't care for. Right behind his head. Sort of turned the adrenaline button up a little bit. And he just ripped it double out there in the right field.
Might not sound like much, a double, but that being said, looks pretty good after you get one behind your head. And also, Duffy all of last year gave up just 3 extra base hits to left-handers. You can see what Adam LaRoche did was most unusual.
One and 2. Wind still blowing right to left. Two down.
Well, after LaRoche tattooed a fastball last at bat, he saw a steady diet of curves and sliders. That one good enough, said Hunter Wendelstedt. Adam disagreed.
Yeah, that was a good pitch. Here's Gordon. He had an infield single and scored. Takes it just off the plate. Good eye. Almost a blueprint and a count 2-0.
The reason why Moustakas is coming in is he's got to know if Duffy's going to throw an off-speed breaking ball, because then if he does, Moustakas will take another step toward the line thinking Beckham's going to pull it. If he's going to stay hard stuff away, Moustakas will then take a step or so to his left, closer to the shortstop, thinking that Gordon will not hit it down the line.
Yeah, and this, you don't have to play the situation here. You play the pitch. Two and 1 to count.
All 3 pitches in this at bat have been at or on the outside corner.
3 pretty good pitches, really. There was the best one he's had, just underneath it. Outfielder short. Swung around to the right.
Nobody paying much attention to Garcia at second base. Escobar and Infante haven't moved.
Gordon put a good pass on that one just underneath it. Base hit. Yes. So here comes Ivy Hill scoring. This game is tied at 4. Selig, Gwynn, and Grace are happy.
Almost the entire at bat, Duffy stayed away from Gordon. This time he throws a backdoor cutter. Looked like he was trying to hit the outside corner with either a cutter or a slider. Gordon went that way, and a good effort by Kane goes for naught. He is fortunate, though. Couldn't come up with it, but he was able to get part of the glove and part of his face on the baseball to keep it in front of him.
So here's Tyler. 3-run homer in the second inning.
A 4th drive of the game. Second of 2 off-speed pitches. Left the yard. At the time, giving the Sox a 3-1 lead.
And there's a shot right to in front. It's a hang whiffle for Tyler. Meanwhile, big key 2-out single RBI for Beckham, and we're tied at 4. Checking in an official White Sox MasterCard debit card. Only available at your local Wintrust Community Bank. Go to www.wintrust.com/Sox to learn more. Member FDIC. 4-4 tie, bottom of the 4th inning.
Very offensive game to this point. 2 very good pitchers going head to head. You didn't think you'd see a 4-4 tie in this ballpark this early. But 2 3-run homers and some pretty good execution on both sides have led to this tie.
It'll be Perez and Infante, then back to the top of the order with Escobar. Perez 0 for 1, went out to Avi in right field.
Perez was was signed as a 16-year-old. Made his way through the system. He's feeling the effects of that last foul ball, despite having that shin guard and toe protector on that left leg.
Well, it certainly is better to have it on than not, but it still hurts when you hit it.
There's no doubt.
There was just a roller at 79 and the leadoff single. That'll bring up Omar Infante, who had a low line drive into right field, but Garcia was playing him perfectly. He was playing him short, came in and made a shoot top catch.
Infante has some speed, but not great speed. This is an ideal double play situation. The infield has come in with the double play in order. Perez can't run. In fact, on the scouting reports, where you grade from 20 to 80, he was a 25 runner, which is just above a 1. But you ask, probably 26 or 27 of the other general managers if they would like Perez behind the plate, and they would tell you in a heartbeat, yes.
Big hack in the count, 1-2.
That was a good breaking ball, hard breaking ball in a perfect spot, low and in off the plate. That's where Jose would love to throw that slider. Keep it there consistently.
He gone. Gas.
After setting him up inside, he goes outside off the plate and gets a big strikeout.
Here's Escobar. Fouled out to Abreu, made a beautiful catch in foul ground. And he's grounded to short. Looking at some other scores. Steve told you Detroit shut out Minnesota 11-0. Anibal Sanchez over Ricky Nolasco. That's trouble. A little flare. He just does get back in. Going out runners at the corners. That's what Escobar does against us. He just puts the bat on the ball. This team struck out fewer times than any team in the major leagues last year. And in the opener on Monday, if you'd have seen all the duck snorts and broken bat singles they got, you got to understand this is what Kansas City does.
And a real good heads-up play by Garcia and Ramirez, because they know they had no play at third. They thought they could get Escobar going a little too far off the bag, but the return throw in back of him just a touch late.
This is their game. Just put the ball in play and hopefully find some green grass someplace. Here's Moustakas. A double, hit by a pitch, and he scored twice. Takes a strike.
Moustakas has very little speed. An inviting double play target if you can get him to hit the ball on the ground.
In the Detroit victory, Kinsler was 2 for 4 with 4 RBIs. Cabrera 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs. A little bit of a delayed steal right there, and it works.
Escobar does not go, and then takes off, steals it easily.
Well, when you got a left-handed hitter up there, that's the perfect time to put that delayed steal on.
No way that Tyler could see him go.
No.
We knew he wasn't running on a pitch. As you can see, the stolen base leader, Kansas City Royals, followed by Altuve and the Astros.
And they're going to come to the plate and get it. He gone.
Good
2 down.
Heads-up play by Jose, knowing that Perez has no speed whatsoever. He didn't think about 2. He just thought about coming home, and they cut Perez down by plenty. Good solid throw and no chance for Perez to score.
Here's Kane. Hit by a pitch. Got him pretty good. And then he singled and scored last inning. Had a 3-run homer by Hosmer. That ball hit hard right at him. We got a man there. Yes. And he pitches out of it. We're into the 5th. Still tied.
April 24th at 7:10. First 20,000 fans in attendance will receive a White Sox reusable tote bag presented by the MLB Network. Be sure to stay after the game for a post-game fireworks show presented by the aforementioned MLB Network. Purchase your tickets today by visiting whitesox.com/promos or calling 866-SOX-GAME.
Top of the 5th inning. Carlos Sanchez will lead it off. Struck out his first trip, but it was an extended at bat. Fouled off a lot of pitches. Takes ball 1.
Duffy just making his 68th pitch, so he's got some left in the tank.
Count evens. A couple of the scores. Atlanta leading Miami 2-0. That game in the top of the 9th. Down in Miami. A.J. Pierzynski with a couple of RBIs in that game.
Atlanta's making life miserable for Miami because a lot of people pick Miami to be right there with the Nationals. In the meantime, Atlanta on the verge of sweeping a 3-game series on the road. They're trading away their closer. A lot of people thought it was an unusual trade. Kimbrel, one of the best closers in all of baseball, certainly going to help San Diego. But Atlanta freed up some salary, got out from under the Melvin Upton contract.
And there's a good way to start it off. That little man is a good player.
But you certainly know what's on Robin's mind. Got a left-hander going the mound who last year held lefties to 137 batting average. You got a young left-handed first baseman and Micah Johnson. So put up the switch hitter, let him face him from the right side, and give Sanchez some at bats because he deserved them out of spring.
Here's Adam. And that's going to be a souvenir. Sanchez just 22 years old.
He's been the youngest player just about every level
league he's
been.
played.
Yeah. Robin's got some options off the bench.
He's finally got some options.
Something he hasn't had a whole lot of in his managerial career, but he does now. Got options.
Yeah, that shot we used to get him last year and the year before when he'd be sitting in the dugout, we'd be trailing by a few runs. He used to sitting there with his arms closed. It's like putting a sign out there. What can a man do?
Now, unfortunately, the last couple of years, bullpen has been sparse, as has the mobility coming off the bench. I've got some guys who can run, whether they're in the lineup or coming later in the game.
In our last 3 years, our outfield defense has been horrendous. Fouls that by. That's so in 2015.
Alex Gordon very shallow in left field over toward the line. As you can see, Kane over in the left center, the huge gap in right center field and down the line and right.
Well, Sanchez is not a speed burner, but they're playing very short in this situation where Adam can burn them. In the dirt. And they get him. That's a nice pick right there by Escobar.
And a heads-up play by Perez. He jumped on the ball in the dirt, fired it as quickly as he could to second. Mercedes Escobar puts on a clinic on how you pick low throws and puts the tag on.
Had to come up with that glove a little bit and still get it down in time. But this is where Kansas City last year and the year before were the best in the American League, catching the baseball and covering the last outs. That's out number 2. 5 strikeouts now for Duffy. That'll bring up Cabrera's grounded to short and gone out to right. There's a new one he just broke out.
Slow curveball. Stayed up and out of the zone. Melky able to duck under that one. That ball just stayed out of the zone.
Outfield straight up, spread out about equidistant. Escobar got a gun, low throw, but he's got a man that can pick it, and that'll retire the side. We're halfway home in this 4-4 tie. Here's Hosmer. He has one of those 6 hits. And 3 of their RBIs.
Because they could really use a clean inning. He had one in the second. That was a 1-2-3. Rios, Perez, and Infante. But that's been the only 1-2-3 of the night. A lot of pressure put on by the Royals.
Just a softly hit ground ball that goes through for the base hit. That'll bring up Kendrys Morales, who's 1 for 2 with an RBI single. That coming in the first inning. one of the most freakish accidents to happen to a player in the midst of his earning years, big earning years, that you'll ever see. And to interrupt what could have been and still can be a terrific career.
When he was with the Angels, hitting 30 home runs, he never dreamt that it would happen on a celebration at home plate as he jumped up and down and hit the plate wrong and shattered his ankle. There's only been 6 Cuban players to hit as many as 30 home runs in a season. And there's 2 in this ballpark tonight.
Yep.
One you're looking at, and the other at first base.
6 Cubans with 30 or more home runs. Outfield straight up. Bit of a gap out there in right center. And the count 0-2. High pop up. Attaboy, Ivy. Take charge. Get him out of there. 1 out.
Much easier play for the outfielder, and the infielder will go at it until he hears a voice saying, "I've got it." A voice belonging to Avi Garcia.
Alex Gordon's grounded out 3-1 and walk. Takes first pitch strike. Alex Rios on deck. Salvador Perez in the hole. Just tuning in, they scored 1 in the first. We scored 3 in the second. 3-run homer by Tyler Flowers. Had a 3-run homer by Hosmer in the third. And then we had a big 2-out RBI single by Beckham in the fourth to tie it up. Between innings, you got a text. Beckham got the base hit. Who is Sully, Gwen, and Grace? Well, Sully is Gordon's mom. Gwen and Grace are his sisters. By the way, Sully, we're still waiting.
The controllers of the cheese straws.
Yes, he did. He gone.
High fastball. Gordon starts to check it up. Hunter Wendelstedt says, "No, you didn't." And a big second out.
Here's Alex. A strikeout and a ground out to Alexei.
He only hit 4 home runs last year. Had a growth on his finger that was bothering him. Royals believing he's entirely healthy after a number of injuries last year. And particularly care for that call, but it had the lower part of the zone, just barely.
Well, Hunter's had a good game behind the plate, as Jerry Lane had a good game last night, even though we got beat 10-1. Let's check Monday.
Hard to believe that this team that's been around for quite some time has never seen anybody with a home run and a stolen base in the opener. Alex Rios was able to do that.
That truly is amazing.
with the players they've had here,
that truly is amazing. And there's a base hit in the center field.
See Alex with first base coach Rusty Kuntz.
Rusty Kuntz, Mr. Nice Guy. And if you're just tuning in, there has been a warning issued. So guys, when you see where that pitch is, good pitcher's pitch, outside corner, right his knees. In the warning zone, that pitch can be hit hard.
You know, that's the one spot you can look for it.
Yeah. Two on, two out. Perez 1 for 2 tonight. He was 2 for 4 on Monday with an RBI. Ate him up, and it's not going to be playable. Too soft. Now that's a Doc Edwards shot right there. Doc Edwards, former catcher, manager in the big leagues.
This would have been a wonderful way to get out of the inning. Threw that ball right in on the hands of Perez, who could do absolutely nothing with it.
Doc was terrific with the leather and not so terrific with the lumber. Time is called. So Perez from Valencia, Venezuela, 24 years old. Good curveball, and the count 1-2. Valencia about 2 or 3 hour cab ride from Caracas, according to who you got for the driver.
Did you play Let's Make a Deal?
No,
that's a long cab ride.
Well, then don't drive as fast as Farmer. But a couple of them are close.
Nice stop by Tyler Flowers. That ball bounced in front of the plate. Jose tried to get Perez to expand his strike zone.
There's Farmio and DJ. Two terrific radio announcers. Two on, two out, 2-2 the count. Good part of the foul. That Drysdale is the fastest guy I've ever known in baseball as a driver. Farmio was second. But that's how they get you there when you fly in to LaGuardia. Valencia club has you picked up in the cab and they drive you to Valencia. Ate him up.
That's the second time he's bounced one right off his foot. Fortunately, speed isn't part of his game, but he's going to hobble around for a while.
Yeah, it still hurts whether you can run or you can't. Sounds like a horse. Those bad ones eat just as much as the good ones.
That one he fouled off the inside of his knee. That didn't even make it to the shin guard. Last year he was in 150 games. Didn't catch 150, but they felt he might have worn down as the season went along. Ned Yost planning to get him a little of rest this year. Left to his own devices, Perez would play just about every day. But for catchers in the heat and humidity, you reach the law of diminishing returns, about 130 to 135 caught.
Give him some hard high right here. That's into center field. And they take a 5-4 lead. He just muscled that one. Soft little single into center.
As they try to get it up and in, he got it up, but couldn't get it in. Don Cooper on the phone to the pen.
1 on, 2 out. Then the single by Rios and the single by Perez.
And here comes Don to kill some time to get that pen ready to go. Every pitcher has a team that just wears him out. So look at Javi Guerra. This is a team that wears out Quintana. Came against them 0-6 with an ERA in the mid-4s. And it's been a tough outing this evening. There you saw the pitch count, and Zay's getting that magic number.
Chases a high fastball. Bonte first time up hit a low line drive into right field. Javi Garcia was positioned perfectly and made a beautiful catch. He struck out last inning. And the count 0-2. Trying to steal one right there, but nobody was covering. That'll be a stolen base.
We're not going to see too many more in the Perez column this year. As you can see, another hesitation. Salvador had one last year, and he now has 2 career wides.
That's not going to be playable. One in, 2 out. 2 on, 1-2 the count. About a 53-footer. Take him right here. You don't want to go full. This is the man you want. You got Escobar on deck. Whatever it's going to be, make it your best. He gone. But they pick up 1 on the RBI. Single by Salvador Perez, and they lead it 5-4. Game 2 of this 3-game series. Tomorrow afternoon, 1:10 for the finale. The game will be over. Comcast Sportsnet. And we come home. Tee it up at our place.
Razor the right-hander, Morales the left-hander. And Duffy out there with a string on his back. If he gets in any trouble, Ned Yost is going to the pen.
That ball hit hard in the gap, and nobody's going to get it. So a good way to start the leadoff double.
Tried to hit the outside corner with the slider and got too much of the plate. So that's a tying run on second base, and everybody meeting at the mound for only one purpose, and that's on a signal from Ned Yost to go kill some time and allow that bullpen to get loose.
Here's Avi, a strikeout and a leadoff double coming in the 4th. And he scored on a 2-out RBI single by Beckham. And there's a little flare in the center field for the base hit. So they're going to hold Abreu at third. Runners at the corners and nobody out.
Good job of hitting by Avi. That pitch was inside off the plate. He was able to inside out it, take it into center field. This is a pretty good pitch by Duffy, and it appears that that is going to be it. He had the bullpen up and going. Long slow walk to the mound by Ned Yost with runners at the corners, nobody out, with a precarious 1-run Kansas City lead.
So a meeting of the minds at the mound.
Well, Yost will stay out there as long as Hunter Wendelstedt lets him. Now he's finally making the call, and the evening is done for Danny Duffy. So as he walks out, we'll step out and be back after these messages. Eight hits, 4 earned runs to this point, charged with the 2 left on base, didn't walk anybody, fan 5. So his night is over, and Jason Frazier, who came over from Texas last year and was brilliant as a member of this Kansas City team. Those are the numbers overall. They're very good. But after donning a Royal uniform, he was 3-0 with a 1.53 ERA in 23 games. So, former member of the Sox pen, Jason Frazier has found himself a home in one of the best bullpens in baseball. And leaving it up to Alexei to, at the very worst, tie up the ball game.
Alexei has grounded to second and popped up to first. That pop up to first, though, trying to get Avasile over and head up. An extended at bat, good effort, just couldn't get it done. Well, if you'd have told me at the start of the game that we'd have 4 runs off Danny Duffy after 5, I'd have said I'd take it.
You would take it every time off him. Last year he was very stingy. This was not a particularly good start for him.
First pitch strike, down to 92.
That's a grip of a man that likes to throw a split finger fastball.
That'll get the job done. That's in the right field. Everybody's tagging. From third, he scores, and this game is tied at 5. Good at bat right there again by Alexei.
All Alexei was doing was looking for one pitch up in the zone that he could hit with some authority. Second pitch right there on the outer portion of the plate. And now Duffy charged with 5 with 1 pending.
Good execution after the leadoff double by Jose, by Avi, and Alexei. So here's Adam, a double. That started off at second, a 3-run second with 2 out. Breaking ball strike.
I don't think the Adams particularly happy with that one. That looked like it was well off the outside corner.
They get the shift on for Adam. Stock is well over. And here's what started off that 3-run second for us with 2 out, nobody on. What's the pitch?
Well, there were 5 in a row retired at that point, and it was after Lorenzo Cain had been hit for the second time in as many nights. That one seemed to ignite the offense.
Yeah, it did.
And they have really had some good at bats against a pretty tough left-hander. They made Danny Duffy look ordinary tonight, but he's anything but that.
That in the major leagues. As he stayed out there and he got him. So 2 down.
Well, Roach doesn't say anything, but he realizes that that pitch is off the plate. Perez does a nice job of framing it and easing it back in the zone, but that doesn't diminish the 4 inches off the corner the pitch was.
Well, we've been getting some like that as well. So it's been consistent. And here is Gordon, 2 for 2. Big 2-out RBI in the 4th. He also scored in the 2nd. Yeah, but a lot of times when you throw a pitch like that or you drill somebody in the big leagues, that's got a better chance of igniting a team than putting some intimidation into it.
Certainly did the trick tonight.
Oh, I want to count to Beckham. A lot of times that'll work in the minor leagues, but it doesn't work in the big leagues. Or if it does, you're not playing a club that's going to do anything. He's a little bitty guy with a big arm.
He's had a very nice career for a guy that a lot of scouts would say is too short to make it.
Yeah.
Made it, he did.
You see him in his uniform, that's one thing. And when he was with us, after a game, you go in the food room when he just had his shorts and his T-shirt on, you realize just how small he is.
He's in his
petite,
knocking at the door of his 12th year in the major leagues.
Yeah,
that's pretty good. Started with Toronto.
There he goes, and there's the throw, not in time. He's called him out anyway, so it's moot. But we do pick up one. We tied at 5.
here after coming over 2-4 with a 2.91 ERA in 42 games. There you look at the numbers. They were pretty good. Now the game in the hands of the pen.
Top of the order, Escobar. And this is where Kansas City last couple of years has been the best. Well, it's Kansas City and Seattle. But for the last 2 or 3 years, Kansas City's been the best in this league, covering the last 9 outs. Seattle was last year, I believe, just a tick above Kansas City. Escobar 1 for 3 with a stolen base. And he's 2 for 4. As he was 2 for 4 on Monday.
Well, Escobar in the leadoff spot hasn't happened a whole lot in his career. But last year, 16 times at the end of September, they put him in the leadoff spot. This year, Ed Yost feels that that's a spot for him where he can use his speed. And he's already swiped 1 tonight as Kelvin Herrera starts to loosen up in the pen.
Moustakas is 1 for 2 with a couple of runs scored. He doubled in the first, scored, was hit by a pitch in the third, scored. And he takes up high. And if you're just tuning in and joining us, this game has been played with a warning to both sides. And what happens when you give a warning like that for the hitters, it slows the game down. Almost like shooting fish in a barrel. Not quite that easy. A lot easier.
Really a good spot to be hitting in the number 2 hole ahead of a base stealer. The reason is that try as a pitcher might, you have to have some of your concentration divided. He's worried about Escobar at first. Zach Duke loosening in the pen.
Well, for a guy who struggled since he's been up here, we talked about it last year and the year before. Said he should be in that 2 hole to change his approach to plate. Give him some responsibility up there instead of just going up there wondering where his hands are, where his swing is, and thinking mechanics.
Last night he was also asked to do something he never did in the middle or down the order, which was a sacrifice bunt in the 3rd inning. Turned into 2 runs for the Royals.
If they keep him in that 2 hole all year, he'll probably have the best season he's ever had in the big leagues.
I believe that, and I think he'll probably hit more home runs because he won't be trying as hard to hit them.
High pop up. Beckham not getting turned around, drops the ball, but they're going to get him at second. So they take the speed off the base paths.
That ball has to be called by Ramirez. It's a much easier play for a shortstop than a third baseman. I think Gordon was probably waiting for Alexei to take control of it. He didn't do it. Fortunately, this ball just trickles in front, and they take the speed burner off base. So even though you'd like to see this ball caught, it worked out very well, taking Escobar, putting him on the bench and replacing him with Moustakas.
Here's Kane. He's 1 for 2. It's hit by a pitch in the first. He singled and scored in the third. Then in the fourth, hit a bullet right to Cabrera and left. Pours that fastball over. And that's the end two, right? But again, Moustakas pulls up at second.
Kane takes a fastball that's probably a little higher than Javi wanted it. Drives it into right field. So the middle of the order coming up, not out of the woods quite yet.
Hosmer's 2 for 3, a 3-run homer and a leadoff single and a run scored last inning.
Don Cooper coming out. Talk about just exactly what they want to do with Hosmer, who's off to a very good start.
We got a left-hander warming up.
Your local Ford stores are proud to present the opening day Ford Drive Around on Friday, April 10th at U.S. Cellular Field. Be sure to arrive early and see the introduction of your favorite Chicago White Sox players and coaches, presented by your local Ford stores. Together, we'll go further.
Zach Duke. And you got the switch hitting Kendrys Morales on deck.
That's where you'd love to throw it to Hosmer. Keep it up and in. Make sure he can't get his arms out because he loves to drive the ball to left center field. He's not going to do it on that pitch.
That location is perfect. That's right underneath his hands. To count. Out and around it.
He took a little something off that one. That one 4 miles an hour difference from his best fastball. He had Hosmer out in front.
Two and two right now is when you want to take it. Right here. Make your good pitch right here. I want to go full. Unless you got a lot of confidence in the changeup.
Be a good pitch here or on the next pitch.
Yep.
That was interesting because Javi turned around and Lexi was not at second base. So it almost hit Moustakas, who was wondering who exactly was covering, knowing that David Rackley, the umpire, was the closest guy to the bag. Turns around. That part's okay, but you'd like to have somebody there ideally.
All right. That is 79. Big thing. The count hangs at 2-2. Hard high, slow low.
Just missed upstairs. Couldn't get him to swing at it. There's a look at Morales. has had a hit and a run batted in tonight.
5-8-0 for us, 5-11-0 for them, but they are threatening with 2 on 1 out. Make a good throw, a good return. Rack him up. Yes, attaboy, Javi. 3-6-3. And we'll go to the 7th, tied at 5. Takes his time, makes the perfect feed, and gets another perfect feed. So rack him up. Good job by Javi. And coming on now, 25-year-old right-hander Kelvin Herrera. 5'10", 200 pounds. Last year with Kansas City, 4-3 with a 1.41. Erie.
Pretty amazing. In 70 games, he was durable, one of the 3 out of their pen with an ERA below 1.5. And he is a part of the 3-headed monster. Normally, that bullpen, especially the late pen of Herrera, Davis, and Holland, comes in when the Royals are ahead. Not tonight. Here's a look at the closer, one of the best in the business. And hopefully we won't see him in this game or tomorrow.
And most of the guys in that bullpen are small. Wade Davis is a big man.
Ellis Holland at 5'10". I'm not sure he gets the 5'10".
No, he's not.
But he's got a big arm.
Tyler had a big bomb in the second, a 3-run homer. He also lined out hard, very hard, to Infante in the 4th. And that one at 100.
All three of those pitches were out of the strike zone, but you don't have a lot of time to decide with Herrera on the mound.
The harder the guy throws, the bigger your strike zone gets.
You got to get it started.
Yeah.
And as you can see, all three pitches out of the zone. The first two inside, the last one up. Get Sox Social. Stay connected to your White Sox and favorite players all season long by visiting whitesox.com/connect today.
Here's Carlos. He's 1 for 2. Had a solid single leading off the 5th. Here's the difference, though. Most of the hitters, when you get a guy throwing 100, they'll say, all right, you got to get this thing started. While your outstanding hitters say you got to wait longer.
Yeah. Those are the guys with the real quick hands.
Because if that head moves forward a little bit, and instead of throwing 100, you're putting another 6 inches on that fastball. Now he goes up to about 104.
And you factor in that straight change that he threw to get Tyler, you got yourself a pretty tough customer.
There's another base hit. That one at 88. Made a mistake with it, got it up.
Micah Johnson now coming out to pinch run. Great night by Carlos. He's 2 for 3, setting up the go-ahead run at first base.
These are some of the options that Robin has. One to count. Adams due. Grounded to first, grounded to short, and struck out. That one at 98.
To just beat it at first base. Tough to turn to if you're not standing on top of the bag where you use the underhand toss. We'll take another look at it. Micah does a nice job of forcing Infante to get out of there.
You called it right off the bat.
Long toss.
Yeah. Underhanded. You got to give that ball to him as quick as you can.
That was a little loop in it, and had he turned to the side with a firmer throw, they probably turned the pair.
We had plenty of time to get in a little better position. So we catch a break right there. And here's Cabrera, who's 0 for 3. A couple of grounders to short. The soft fly into right. There he goes. He gone. Guns him down. 7th inning stretch. Still tied at 5.
And this 5-5 tie as we head into the bottom of the 7th inning. Zach Duke comes on the pitch. Garrett made the big pitch when he had to, inducing Hosmer to ground into the double play that ended the 6th. And Zach comes into this one, and he will be the pitcher of record. There you look at the numbers last year with the Brewers. 5-1, an ERA under 2.5. And a very durable left-hander on 74 times.
Ball one to Kendrys Morales, who was 1 for 3 with an RBI. That coming back in the 1st inning. Saw the scores there. Atlanta shutting out Miami 2-0. 2-run homer by A.J. Pierzynski in the 7th inning. Game winner for the Brave Ballers. Reaches out, nice pitch, had him out in front on that foot, couldn't get anything behind it, so 1 out. Here's Gordon. Alex 0 for 2 with a walk. He was 1 for 2 with 2 RBIs on Monday. That little ground ball you could have called with a pair of pliers.
Wade Davis, part of the three-headed monster, loosening in the pen.
We have 9 hits. They have 11. Checks it up, takes a strike.
Zach is soon to be 32. Then on April 19th. Completely different motion than when he burst on the scene in 2005 when Pittsburgh was a starting pitcher. Went 8-2 with a 1.81 ERA in 14 starts. Started all of the next season, 34 starts. 10-15 with a bad Pirate team. But has found a home in the bullpen with an altered motion. Gordon did a nice job of checking his swing there. That was an enticing breaking ball that swept low and out of the zone.
Full count.
Alex Rios in the on deck circle.
Pretty good pitch at the top of the zone, didn't get it.
This one has part of the zone, and Hunter Wellstead says no.
Hunter has had a low strike zone in this game, consistent. Rios is 1 for 3. A little too low right there.
Zach Putnam loosening in the pen.
Left-handers with that little hesitating right knee can hold a runner.
It's tough to run because if he doesn't cross back over the pitching rubber, you have no idea if he's coming to first or going home.
One out. Now the walk. Now the base hit. And that'll bring up Salvador Perez, who was 2 for 3 with an RBI and a stolen base.
Tyler's out there on a signal from the dugout to go out, kill some time, and let Putnam get loose.
Mark Parent going through his signals to Flowers. Off the plate, ball 1. Trouble brewing. 2 on and a 2-0 count. High right field. Bobby's got to play. Wow.
That wind took it to his right. You can see the flags. They're starched toward the left field corner. And that ball drifting toward the line was pushed back to the outfield side. Take a look at Avi. Now he's got it. And then the wind gets it. He has to drift to his right. Runners at the corners. But there are 2 outs.
That's a good play by Garcia to stay with it. Infante 0 for 3 tonight. But now 2 out runners at the corners. Right back, and he's going to get out of it. Wow. So that'll retire the side. Stratton can't do anything with it and wins to the 8th.
matching 3-run homers. Ours by Flowers, theirs by Hosmer. Neither starting pitcher did a particularly good job in 5 innings. 5 earned runs for both. And they both got no decisions. That's brought to you by the Honda Dream Garage Sales Event. Now at your Honda dealer. And Wade Davis comes into the ball game. Last year 9-2. His ERA a minuscule 1. 71 appearances. He gave up his first extra base hit in the latter parts of July and didn't throw a home run all year.
Cabrera will lead it off. First pitch strike at 95. We got the heart of our order: Cabrera, Abreu, Garcia, Alexei, and hopefully LaRoche.
It's not a closer situation, but you're facing the best this lineup can offer.
Tops and foul. If you're just tuning in, they scored 1 in the first. We scored 3 in the second. 3-run homer by Tyler Flowers. They had a 3-run homer from Hosmer in the third. We tied it in the fourth. They took the lead in the fifth. We tied it in the sixth. 5-9-0 for us. 5-12-0 for them. We have stranded but 2. They have stranded 10.
It was 97 on the outside corner and just threw it right by him.
According to how the ball comes out of a guy's hand, you get some guys throwing 95 who look like they're a little quicker than guys throwing 98 or 100, and vice versa. You get some guys throwing 100 that look like they're throwing 104, 105.
Since moving into bullpen and out of the rotation, Davis has been a revelation.
Best pitch in baseball is a well-located fastball.
Davis had one all year last year.
Good check. Count evens at 1. And 1 year ago today, Abreu hit the first 2 home runs of his career.
Davis got to the big leagues in 2009 with Tampa Bay. He was a 3rd-round pick in 2004. Did work out of the bullpen 1 year in Tampa. 54 appearances, no starts in 2012. After moving full-time to the bullpen last year in his 2nd year with Kansas City, he's been tough. Davis actually followed the same career path as Luke Ochever. He started with Kansas City in 2013, 8-11 with a 5.32 ERA before moving to the pen last year.
Two down. Tenth strikeout for Kansas City. And here's Avi. Avi is 2 for 3 with a run scored. That's low. That ball hit hard for a base hit. He's lucky that ball stayed in the park.
Well, Davis made a big mistake with a curveball. He's shaking his head because he realizes that this isn't where he wants to throw it. He actually hung it inside. And you're right. Avi got on top of that with topspin. Otherwise, he got a chance of hitting that one way out of here. Davis doesn't make those mistakes too often.
Here's Alexei. He's 0 for 2 with a sacrifice fly. That's a fair ball. And that'll retire the side. We're at the bottom of the 8th, tied at 5.
Service is celebrating 13 years. Watch every out-of-market game live or on demand in true HD on over 400 mobile and connected devices. Real-time highlights, live look-ins, pitch tracking, widget, and more. Every night on every device. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.tv for details. And Zach Putnam comes into the ball game. He is the 4th Sox pitcher of the night. Last year, a very good year, 1.98 ERA, 49 appearances. Split finger was outstanding most of the season. Opponents hit just .205. And his first job in a tie ball game late is make sure the man strolling to the plate does not get on. But Escobar has done it twice tonight, stolen a base, but has not scored.
Monday 2 for 4 tonight. 2 for 4, off to a good start. That's low ball 1. Two 2-0.
There is the closer, one of the best in the business, Greg Holland.
2-1. Moustakas on deck. Lorenzo Cain in the hole. Good speed aboard. He's 1 for 3, a double, a run scored. He was hit by a pitch, scored another run. And tomorrow afternoon, 1:10 start. Johnny Danks against Edison Volquez.
We saw Moustakas bunt in the opener on Monday. Something he rarely does, but now in the 2 spot.
I think he did that on his own.
It's a terrific bunt.
Got the job done.
Yeah, it did.
High pop up. Adams got him. And Chris Kamka tells us that's exactly what happened, as Yost said in the post-game interview that he did it on his own. Again, putting him in the 2-hole changes his approach.
It got Escobar from second to third without an attempted steal, and it keyed a 2-run third inning of the opener. Now we'll see if Escobar is off to the races.
Cain is 2 for 3 with a run scored. He swung the bat well tonight. He usually swings the bat well against us. And Lorenzo out of Valdosta, Georgia. You know, Dominican has San Pedro de Macorís, puts out the baseball players. Valdosta in our country is probably the finest little football town, comparable to San Pedro de Macorís in football.
Cain 0 for 3 lifetime against Putnam.
Uh-oh. Come on, Johnny Danks.
Make that 1 for 4. A towering home run to left field.
He hung it and he heard it. Royals.
That one at 87 on the inner third, and it is way back there, well over the bullpen.
That bounces foul. Hanging sinker.
This team hit fewer home runs than anybody in the major leagues last year. It started off this year featuring the long ball. 5 of the runs coming via home runs tonight. You have to go back to 1977 to find a year where they homered twice in their first 2 games. So it's very unusual, but this is a confident group of Royals.
Long way to go, can't get there. For us, schedule hitters: LaRoche, Beckham, Flowers, and Micah Johnson.
To face that guy, loosening in the pen.
Well, as you mentioned, he's one of the best in the business.
He is that.
Big rip by Hosmer. Two homers accounting for 5 runs.
And in the opener, 2 home runs accounting for 4 runs. The Royals doing it in a most unusual way for them.
Be gone. 2 down. Kendrick is 1 for 4 RBI single in the first. Softly hit, but a long 2-run homer by Lorenzo Cain, and we got a problem.
Herrera, Davis, and Holland, the 3-headed monster coming out of the bullpen. And as you can see, 46 of 48 last year. Opponents hitting just 170. 20 strikeouts, 20 walks, 90 strikeouts, and 62 1/3. A tall task, but hopefully he's not getting the ball over the plate.
Adam LaRoche takes ball one. So the 31-year-old right-hander out of Morganton, North Carolina, 5'10", 205 pounds. Adam 1 for 3. That RBI, not RBI, but run scoring that he scored, double with 2 out, nobody on in the second inning. That led to 3 runs. Now they're going to put the shift on with Moustakas moving over on the first base side of second. And we need a base runner. Come on, Adam.
Holland was a full-time reliever from the time he got to the major leagues in 2010. But he was used as a setup man and a long reliever to start with until 2 seasons ago. 2013, 47 saves, a 1.21 ERA. Last year, 46, a 1.44 ERA. One of the most valuable men in all of baseball.
Here's Gordon. He's 2 for 3 with an RBI, big 2-out RBI to tie the ball game back in the 4th. And he scored a run with an infield single in the 2nd. Can of corn to Kane. J.B. Shuck has come out to hit for Tyler. Let's give him a finish. Come on, boys.
He can keep it alive. Micah Johnson, who came on to pinch run, looking for his first at bat of the night. He's in the on deck circle.
23,385. 40,000 plus last night. Or check that Monday in the opener. Fastball at 95, right on the outside edge of the corner. This ball game is over. So we come in here, we lose the opener on Monday. 2-run homer by King beats us here on Wednesday, and we'll be back.